Right now, somewhere in this world, there is a version of you that you have never met. He wakes up at 4:30 a.m., not because an alarm told him to, because he decided months ago that sleep was a luxury he'd earn, not assume. He doesn't scroll. He doesn't check notifications. He puts on his shoes in the dark, walks outside into the cold, and he runs. Not because it feels good, because it doesn't. And then there's the version of you that's watching this video right now. The question is not which version you want to be. The question is, which version are you willing to bleed for? We are living in the softest era in human history. I want you to sit with that for a second. The softest era in human history. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as a diagnosis. Because here's what nobody's telling you while you're doom scrolling at midnight, eating food you didn't cook, watching someone else live the life you keep saying you want. You have been engineered to stay comfortable. The apps on your phone were built by billion-dollar companies whose only job is to make sure you never feel uncomfortable enough to change. The algorithm rewards your passivity. The feed is curated to keep you nodding, not growing. You are being farmed, not for your money, but for your attention, which is the same as farming your life. And here's the brutal part. You're not even angry about it, because why would you be? Anger requires energy. Energy requires discipline. Discipline requires that you confront something you'd rather avoid. The fact that you have been choosing comfort over everything you claim to want. Every single day, you wake up, and the first thing you do is reach for your phone. You don't reach for your goals. You don't reach for your journal. You don't reach for your running shoes. You reach for the one device that's specifically designed to hijack your dopamine and replace your ambition with someone else's highlight reel. And then, and here's where it gets dark, you feel bad about your life. You feel inadequate. You feel behind. You feel like everyone else figured something out that you didn't. And instead of using that feeling as fuel, you medicate it with more scrolling, more snacking, more binge watching, more waiting for some future version of yourself to show up and fix everything. Waiting is just suffering you chose to delay. This video is not here to make you feel better. This video is here to make you feel awake. Because the average version of you, the one that's been running the show, is a liar, a coward, and a thief. He steals your mornings. He lies about how tired you are. He talks you out of every hard thing before you even start. And today, right now, we are going to kill him. Let me paint you a picture. It's 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Your alarm went off at 6. You hit snooze twice. You told yourself you needed the rest. You told yourself you'd make up for it later. You told yourself today would be different, but tomorrow would be better. You finally drag yourself up, shuffle to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and who do you see? Not a warrior, not a champion, not the person you see in your head when you imagine your future self. You see someone puffy-faced, tired-eyed, carrying the weight of unkept promises in the bags under your eyes. You see someone who had a plan last Sunday night and abandoned it by Monday afternoon. And you know what the really painful part is? You nod at that reflection. You accept it. You go make coffee, open your phone, and the day begins its autopilot loop all over again. David Goggins said something that should have shattered every excuse you've ever made. He said, the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And most people are losing that conversation every single morning before the rest of the world even wakes up. You are talking yourself out of your own life. Not your boss, not your upbringing, not your circumstances. You, with your own internal voice, the one that says you're tired, the one that says this isn't the right time, the one that says you've been through a lot, you deserve a break. That voice is the enemy. That voice is average wearing your face. What if every time that voice spoke, instead of listening, you treated it like a threat? Because that's what it is. It's not your friend. It's not your protector. It's the part of you that has decided your survival is more important than your greatness. And survival mode will keep you alive, but it will never make you extraordinary. The military has a concept called the 40 Tauchi rule. When your mind tells you that you're done, that you've hit your limit, you're actually only at 40% of your true capacity. That means every time you stop, every time you quit, Every time you negotiate with that voice and let it win, you are operating at less than half of what you're actually capable of. You've been living in half your life. So here's section one's hard truth. The enemy is not out there. The enemy wakes up with you. The enemy sits in your chest every morning and gives you 100 reasons why today is not the day. And as long as you keep listening to him, you will keep living a life that's 40 of what it could be. The work starts in the mirror, not in the gym, not in the office, not in the relationship. The work starts with that 5-second pause where you look yourself dead in the eye and you make a decision out loud if you have to, that today you are not taking orders from your excuses. You have to govern yourself. You have to become your own commanding officer, because the soft version of you will always choose comfort. He's been trained to, he's had years of practice, he's good at it. He will present you with logic, he will present you with reasons. He will make you feel like rest is wisdom and avoidance is strategy. Don't let him. Every time you feel resistance, that's the exact direction you need to move toward. Resistance is a signal, not a stop sign. The thing you're avoiding most right now, that's the thing that needs to happen first. The mirror doesn't lie. And from now on, neither will you. I want to tell you about a moment, a very specific, very real kind of moment that almost every person has had and almost nobody talks about. It's 11:30 p.m. You're lying in bed. The room is dark. Everyone else in your house is asleep. Or if you're alone, the silence is so loud, it's almost unbearable. And in that silence, something happens. The noise of the day drops away. The distraction disappears. And for just a few minutes, the truth surfaces. You think about where you are versus where you said you'd be. You think about the business you didn't start, the weight you didn't lose, the call you didn't make, the relationship you let drift because confrontation felt harder than distance. You think about the version of yourself you described to people 3 years ago. I'm working on something, I'm figuring it out, give me 6 months. And you realize those 6 months became 6 years. And you lie there. And instead of letting that moment break you open, you reach for your phone. You put on something to fall asleep to. You medicate the silence. Because the truth, when it shows up unannounced at 11:30 p.m., is more uncomfortable than anything you'll face in the physical world. That moment, that 11:30 p.m. moment, is the most important moment of your day. And you've been running from it. What would happen if instead of running, you sat with it? What if you let it burn? What if you picked up a pen and wrote down, not affirmations, not goals, not vision board nonsense, but the raw, unfiltered truth about where you actually are and why? That is the beginning of war. Not the gym, not the 5 a.m. alarm. The war begins when you stop lying to yourself about who you are and what you've been doing with your time. Comfort is the most expensive thing you've ever bought. Here's a real life scenario. I need you to sit inside. His name doesn't matter. What matters is that he's 34 years old. He has a degree he never used, a body he stopped respecting at 28, and a dream, a real specific dream of owning a business that he's been carrying around like a rock in his chest for 6 years. Every year he says, this is the year. Every January he buys a new planner. Every March, the planner is on his shelf collecting dust. He's not lazy. That's the part people get wrong. He works hard for other people. He shows up on time for his job. He's reliable for his friends. He's present for his family. He gives everyone else the best version of his energy and reserves the leftovers for his own dreams. At 11:30 p.m. on a Wednesday in October, lying in the dark, he finally admits it to himself. Not to his wife, not to his friends, just to himself in the dark. He says the words out loud, I have been lying to myself for 6 years, and something breaks open. And something also, for the first time in years, ignites, because the lie was heavier than the truth. Because carrying a story about why you can't is more exhausting than doing the actual work. Because self-deception is the most energy-draining thing a human being can do. He didn't go viral. He didn't have a movie moment. He got up at 5:15 a.m. the next morning. Not because it was easy, but because for the first time in 6 years, the pain of staying the same finally outweighed the discomfort of change. That is the turning point. Not inspiration, not a motivational video, pain. Real, honest, looking yourself in the eye pain that says, I cannot keep doing this to myself. Stop waiting for motivation. Start cultivating desperation. Most people are waiting for a sign, a perfect moment, an aligned universe. They're waiting to feel ready, to feel inspired, to feel like the timing is right. The timing is never right. The sign is never coming. You will never feel ready. The people you admire most, the ones who built something real, who transformed their bodies, who walked away from dead-end situations and built extraordinary lives, they didn't do it because they felt ready. They did it because they decided that not doing it was no longer an acceptable option. They made a non-negotiable decision, and then they honored it, even when they were tired, even when progress was invisible, even when everyone around them said, slow down, be realistic, be patient. Patience is a virtue, but patience without action is just procrastination in a suit. You've been patient long enough. Now it's time to move. Before we go deeper, if this is hitting you somewhere real, if you're watching this and something inside you is cracking open right now, smash that like button and subscribe. Not for me, for you, as a commitment, as a signal to yourself that you are choosing a different conversation from today forward. Stay with me. The hardest part of this video is still ahead. What separates the people who make it from the people who don't isn't talent, it isn't resources, it isn't luck, timing, or connection, it's protocol. The people who win, who genuinely, consistently win at the war against mediocrity, they operate by a different set of internal laws. Not suggestions, not guidelines, laws. The kind you don't negotiate with. The kind you don't put on pause because you had a hard week. I'm going to give you 3. Follow them and your life changes. Ignore them and you stay exactly where you are. Maybe worse, because now you can't pretend you didn't know. Law 1, callous the mind, or it will rot. Your mind is a muscle, and like any muscle that doesn't get trained, it atrophies. It gets soft, it gets sensitive. It starts flinching at things that should barely register. The reason you can't wake up early is not physical, it's mental. You've trained your mind to reward avoidance. Every time you hit snooze, your brain marks the behavior as acceptable. Every time you skip a workout because you're not feeling it, your mind logs that feeling is a valid reason to quit. You've been conditioning yourself for weakness. How do you reverse years of mental conditioning? You do the hard thing on purpose, not because it gets you somewhere, not because it's efficient, because the act of choosing discomfort deliberately, repeatedly, is the only thing that rewires the circuit. Callous the mind, run when you don't want to run, cold shower when you want hot, sit with boredom instead of reaching for your phone, finish the workout after you've already convinced yourself to stop. Make the hard call instead of sending the easy text. Show up for the thing you committed to, even when showing up costs you something. Every soft decision you make creates a softer version of you. You are either building a warrior or building a victim. There is no neutral ground. Softness doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates quietly. Law 2, accountability is your weapon, not your wound. Here is something most people cannot stand to hear. You are where you are because of the decisions you have made. Not entirely. Life is complicated, circumstances are real, trauma is real, systemic barriers are real. I'm not dismissing any of that, but, and this is the part that changes everything, the moment you hand ownership of your life to those circumstances, you hand over your power with it. Accountability is not self-punishment. It is not sitting in shame. Accountability is the warrior's tool. It means looking at your results, your body, your bank account, your relationships, your mental state, and asking, what role did I play in creating this? Not as an attack, as intelligence, as data, as the starting point for a different strategy. The person who refuses to be accountable will spend their entire life being a victim of something. Because if you never own the problem, you never have the power to solve it. You're always waiting for someone else to fix what only you can fix. Deploy accountability. Write down the one area of your life that's suffering most right now. Then, write down 3 decisions you made in the last 30 days that contributed to that suffering. Not anyone else's decisions, yours. This is not about guilt. This is about power. Because the moment you can see your fingerprints on the problem, you can see your fingerprints on the solution. You cannot fix what you refuse to face, and you cannot face what you keep blaming on someone else. This is the one. This is the law that separates the people who transform from the people who perpetually work on themselves without ever actually changing. Your mood is not a reliable narrator. Your mood is a weather pattern. It shifts based on how you slept, what you ate, what someone said to you, what memories surfaced in the shower. Your mood is not data, it's noise. And yet most people run their entire lives based on how they feel in the moment. Don't feel motivated today, so they don't work. I don't feel confident, so they don't try. I don't feel ready, so they don't start. Feelings are passengers. They don't drive the car, you drive the car. And the steering wheel is your standard. Your standard is what you do regardless of how you feel. Your standard is the non-negotiable floor of your behavior. It's the minimum you hold yourself to on your worst day. Because that minimum, repeated across months and years, becomes your life. What you do on your worst day defines you. Everything else is just performance. Set your standard. Define the 4 things, non-negotiable, that happen every day no matter what. 4 things, not 10. 4, make them hard enough to matter, simple enough to do. Then do them sick, do them tired, do them after a bad day. Do them when you don't see results. Do them in the dark when no one is watching and no one will ever know. Because the person you're becoming is built in those moments, not the ones anyone sees. Inspiration will come and go. Motivation is a visitor. Your standard is the only tenet that matters. I want to talk about the invisible war, not the war you post about, not the struggle you reference in conversation to earn empathy. I want to talk about the war that happens at 4 a.m. when it's just you and the weight of everything you haven't done yet. The war that happens in your head when you're sitting in traffic and a wave of "what am I doing with my life" crashes over you without warning. The war that happens when you look at someone else's success and feel something complicated, something you don't want to admit because it mixes admiration with shame. That war is where your character is actually built, not in the public moments, not in the highlight reel, not in the thing you did that people saw and clapped for. In the private, invisible, no witnesses moments, that's where you either become extraordinary or you reinforce your own mediocrity. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who do you want to be, not who do you claim to be. Who are you genuinely, behaviorally, when the outcome of your choices is visible only to you? Because I'll tell you something, the person you are in private is the only real version of you. Everything else is presentation. And no amount of public performance can compensate for private cowardice. Let me give you the second real life scenario. She's 29, works in marketing, smart, articulate, well-liked at work. She posts about wellness, she follows fitness accounts, she has a vision board on her phone, she talks about manifestation and alignment and doing the work. But here's what actually happens inside her days. 7:15 a.m. She snoozes until 7:45, gets ready in a panic, grabs coffee, skips breakfast, is mildly late in spirit if not in body. 12:30 p.m., scrolls for 40 minutes during her lunch break, then feels guilty and calls it decompressing. 7 p.m., gets home, tells herself she'll work out, sits down just for a minute, watches 2 hours of TV. 10:30 p.m., feels the familiar 11:30 p.m. dread arriving early, pushes it down, picks up her phone, sees someone who's younger, doing more, achieving faster, feels a complicated mixture of inspiration and despair, posts a motivational quote to her story, falls asleep with the TV on, and here's the thing, she's not failing. By conventional standards, she's fine, employed, housed, liked. She is thoroughly, completely, perfectly fine. Fine is the most dangerous place to be because fine doesn't push you, fine doesn't burn. Fine is comfortable enough that you don't leave, but miserable enough that you don't grow. Fine is the slow death. Fine is how you look up one day at 47 and realize you've been maintaining a life you never actually chose. Comfortable and unfulfilled is the most common cause of death. The invisible war is the war against fine. It's the daily decision to want more than fine, to risk more than fine, to endure more discomfort than fine requires. And here's what makes it hard. Fine is defended by every comfort mechanism in your life. Your routine protects fine. Your social circle often enforces fine. Your entertainment choices reinforce fine. The whole architecture of your daily existence has been built around maintaining fine. To want extraordinary, you have to be willing to blow up fine. Not dramatically, not recklessly, strategically. One decision at a time, one standard at a time, one private moment at a time, where you make the harder choice and no one knows and it doesn't feel rewarding yet, and you do it anyway. The invisible war requires invisible courage, the kind that doesn't get applause, the kind that doesn't generate content, the 4:47 a.m. kind, the cold shower on a Monday kind, the kept my word to myself kind. That courage, practiced consistently in private, eventually becomes impossible to contain. It leaks into everything, into how you walk, how you speak, how you carry yourself under pressure, how you respond when life hits you sideways, into the quality of everything you touch. The war nobody sees is the one that determines everything everyone sees. What you build in the dark, the world sees in the light. win the invisible war. That's the only war that matters. We're in the final stretch now, and I need you to stay with me because this is where most motivational content takes a breath and wraps up neatly. Not this one. I need to talk about murder. The specific, deliberate, necessary murder of the average version of yourself. Because here's what nobody tells you. The average version of you doesn't want to die. He will fight you. He will use your own memories against you. He will remind you of every time you tried before and failed. He will point to your age, your circumstances, your past, your bank account, your body, your relationships, and he will build a case, a comprehensive, well-sourced, emotionally persuasive case for why extraordinary was never really meant for you. He is the most sophisticated liar you have ever encountered because he knows exactly what you're afraid of. He's been collecting your fears since childhood. He knows the specific shame that shuts you down. He knows the exact flavor of doubt that makes you retreat. He has been weaponizing your own psychology against you for years. How do you kill something that lives inside you? You starve it. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you starve the average. Every time you finish what you started, you starve it. Every time you wake up when you said you would, train when you said you would, create when you said you would, say the hard truth when the comfortable lie was available, you take food off his plate, and here's the brutal timeline nobody warned you about. At first he fights harder. When you start making better choices, the resistance increases. Your mind will throw everything it has at you in the first 2 to 3 weeks. It will produce fatigue, doubt, boredom, cynicism, old memories, old wounds, old stories, all of it at once, because that's what the dying version of you does. It doesn't go quietly. Most people interpret that increased resistance as a sign they're on the wrong path. They say, this feels wrong, maybe I need to rethink this. That feeling is not a warning, it is confirmation. It is proof that you are threatening the system that has kept you small. The resistance is the receipt. It means you're paying the right price. Let me be specific about what killing average actually looks like in practice. Because this is not metaphor, this is methodology. It looks like deleting the apps that are eroding your time and calling it a sacrifice worth making. It looks like having the conversation you've avoided for 6 months with your partner, your boss, yourself, and letting the discomfort of that conversation reshape the relationship. It looks like starting the training program and not announcing it to anyone because your commitment doesn't need witnesses. It looks like being willing to look foolish in the beginning so you can look capable in the end. It looks like sitting with your own silence long enough to hear what you actually want, underneath the noise, underneath the conditioning, underneath the performance, what you actually want for your life. Here's the truth that the average version of you will never say out loud. He doesn't actually believe you can do it. He has constructed an entire worldview built around your limitations. And every time you prove him wrong, every time you do the thing he said you couldn't, something cracks. Some small piece of that identity breaks off. And that breakage is painful. Don't minimize it. It genuinely hurts to shed a version of yourself, even a version you hate. There is grief in growth. There is loneliness in becoming. There are moments where the new you isn't fully formed yet and the old you is gone and you're standing in the gap, uncertain, exposed, a little raw. Stand in the gap, stand there and let the transformation be incomplete for a moment. Don't run back to comfort. Don't retreat into the old story. Stand in the fire of becoming and let it do its work. Because on the other side of that fire is not some perfect version of yourself that never struggles. On the other side is a version of you that has capacity, that has been pressure tested, that knows, not from reading, not from watching, but from lived, embodied, hard-won experience, that he can survive hard things, that he can keep going past the point where his mind says stop, that he has done it before and he will do it again. That version of you is not a future person. That version of you is the outcome of what you do starting today. Every day you delay, average grows roots. And here's the final thing I want to say in this section. And I want you to hear it clearly, because it is the hardest truth in this entire video. The average version of you is not your enemy because he's evil. He's your enemy because he loves you in the wrong way. He protects you from pain that would make you grow. He keeps you from risk that would make you great. He offers you safety at the cost of your potential. He cares about your survival. He does not care about your greatness. And at some point in your life, and I hope that point is today, you have to make a decision about which one matters more, because you cannot have both. Safety and greatness are not compatible at the level of extraordinary. You will have to give something up. You will have to risk something real. You will have to walk into uncertainty without a guarantee, without applause, without a safety net, and decide that becoming who you're capable of being is worth every uncomfortable thing that happens on the way there. Kill the average version of yourself. Bury him deep, and don't look back. We've been in this together for 30 minutes, and I'm not going to wrap this up with a feel-good summary. I'm not going to tell you that you're amazing and you've got this and the universe is rooting for you. You've heard all of that. It clearly hasn't been enough, or you wouldn't still be searching. So instead, I'm going to give you something different, a challenge, a direct, specific challenge that starts the moment this video ends. Tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, you are going to write down 3 things. 1, the one version of yourself that has been running your life without your permission. Describe him. Be specific. What does he do? What does he avoid? What does he tell you every morning? Name the patterns. 2, the single most important thing you've been avoiding. Not the comfortable goals, not the easy targets. The one thing that, if you actually did it, would change the trajectory of your life, and that you have been delaying for months or years. Write it down, date it. Put a first step next to it that takes less than 10 minutes. 3, your non-negotiable daily standard. 4 behaviors every day, no exceptions. Write them in ink, not pencil. Ink means commitment. Pencil means you're still planning to negotiate. Then tomorrow morning, not at a comfortable hour. Early enough that it costs you something, you are going to wake up, look at what you wrote, and begin, not plan, not prepare, not optimize. Begin. The war for your extraordinary life will not be won in a single day. It will be won in 10,000 small, private, invisible moments where you chose discipline over mood, action over comfort, standard over feeling. But it has to begin with a single moment. A moment where you decide with full awareness of the cost that average is no longer acceptable. That moment can be right now. You have been given exactly one life. One. Not a practice run, not a draft, not a simulation. This is it. This is the actual one. And every day you spend maintaining a version of yourself you're not proud of is a day you cannot get back. The clock is running, it has always been running, and the only question that has ever mattered is what you are going to do with what's left. Stop negotiating with your potential and start becoming it. The people you admire didn't find a secret, they just refused to stop. They refused to accept the story their average self was telling them. They refused consistently every day, in private and in pain and in the dark, to be less than what they knew they could be. That refusal is available to you right now, not tomorrow. Now, your mindset is your most powerful weapon. Now go use it.